We're going to do a fun thing today, and it's called, when I was in college, before I graduated from uni, I worked as the editor for the school's undergraduate literary magazine. And the job that we had was writing, each person in the team had to write a blog post to go on the website. And mine feels like the perfect thing to share for all of us who are writers, because I feel like this will hit a nerve for every single one of us. And I'm reading it just so you can understand, kind of. If you watched the last video before this, you know I was talking about how people will romanticize the writing process. This is an example of what I was dealing with, and I think every single writer will wince a little bit when I go over this. Anyway, we're going to read it. I had titled it, "When is Information Too Much Information?" I'm bad at reading things aloud, so bear with me. The worst realization I have had as a writer was after 10 painstaking months of writing. The novel I'd written had 2 conflicting plot lines. I grew up teaching myself to write starting from 12 years old and had no one to teach me otherwise, so there was no set structure or guide to my plot or characters. They had all the information they needed, but too much of it. Upon realizing this, and after spending some days feeling sorry for myself, I set forth to remove the 2 plot lines surgically and keep the one that I liked best, rewriting the novel almost from scratch, as I couldn't preserve any of the scenes or chapters because the detail was too hard to remove. That should have been a warning sign, but it wasn't. When I finally took this new rewritten novel to my professor, proud and excited, he just looked at me in silence for a moment as I explained what I'd had to do and how the new one was much better. "You know you have enough information here for 2 plot lines, right?" It kind of felt like my world had crashed down around me. It hadn't taken as much time rewriting the novel as it had to write it the first time, but it was still nearly 13 months of work in total. And somehow, during that time, I'd failed at my only goal, to maintain a single plotline. But why? I was overly zealous when it came to writing because it was my main hobby. I'd lovingly but painstakingly put details into my favorite characters and parts of the plot, but in doing so had overflowed the very small tub that is the space of a novel. I'd overwhelmed it with information. If that had been my only problem, I could have fixed it quickly, but there was a facet I hadn't realized until my professor pointed it out. My second main character had little to no information on him, and this brought up a new question. When is information too much information? And when is it too little? Currently, I am on the 5th revision. Keep in mind that when I wrote this, I was on the 5th revision and not the 6th revision, which I finally finished. Currently, I'm on the 5th revision, or total demolition and rebuilding, of the novel I mentioned at the beginning. And over that time, I have formed a small system for myself. Here are the hints formed from questions I had to pose to myself and what the underlying cause was. Too much information. Did that character vanish mid-book? What happened to him? Equal to too many characters to keep track of. What did that tattoo mean again? Too many fine details. Wait, was he really dating that girl? Conflicting and unclear relationships. He has 2 jobs? Self-explanatory. Does she have OCD? Nope, just a room full of excessive detail. Did he just die? Nope, tangled plot. Then one's based on too little. What was his brother's name again? No background. Or family listed. Wait, he was a super fan? No hobby or interest information given. This could be a really cute relationship. Wait a second. Both characters weren't clearly defined enough to have an actual relationship standing. Hold on, how old is this guy? No timeline. Where's Dante supposed to be right now? Unclear plot. Realizing you have too much or too little information can be a miserable thing, but now that you've gotten some hints, it's time to do something about it. For characters, there's gotta be a baseline. Strip them down to bare bones, physical features, basic background, etc. This is not a D&D sheet. Keep it simple. More complex details can be added later. Clearly define relationships, boundaries, personalities, and abilities. This will prevent confusion when you slowly build them back up. Maybe pick a very basic character sheet online, and there are a lot to choose from, so go simple. Plot. You need to keep it straight in your head. If you can't, you failed. Write the plot down on paper so you can see it clearly and identify 3 points. The first turning point, the middle, and the last turning point. Those 3 have to make it through to the end. Examine your plot and make sure that those 3 remain steady. Split off everything else as you do, then add information back little bits at a time. Revision hurts, and it can be hard to admit you have too much or too little information. But the time that you think you're wasting on revision isn't a waste. If you've gotten stuck, information is likely the culprit. A few hours is a small price to pay for a clear and fun novel, don't you think? Make identification fun, and think of it as a refresh for your characters and a new coat of paint for your plot. Finding information is a treasure hunt. Might as well enjoy it. That is a lesson that I learned over more than a year of rewriting the same plotline. And yes, when I tell you that I rewrote this book over and over again, I rewrote it 3 times from scratch and revised it 6 times. Now, it's my ultimate thesis, and technically I could publish it right now. I'm confident in my editing ability for my major, and I'm confident in my work. But it took 6 revisions and 3 rewrites in 15 months. So don't romanticize the process here, because, like, I do this as my main hobby, and here's where we're sitting. Okay, so, yeah. So also, if you are a writer, I hope that helped you, because we all shouldn't have to bang our heads against the wall. Anyway, good luck if you're a writer. Wish you luck.